I'm Non-Zero Sum James, your companion on this exploration of win-win games. So why game theory? Non-zero sum games are just one aspect of the wider field of game theory, a fascinating field of mathematics that deals with models of conflict and cooperation among rational decision makers. And while this is not strictly a game theory podcast, we will be using the tools of game theory as a way of understanding social dynamics, in combination with economic and philosophical ideas, as well as some of my own oddball reckons. Humans have used game theoretical ideas throughout history, but game theory was formalized by John von Neumann and economist Oscar Morgenstern in their seminal work, Theory of Games and Economic Behavior, in 1944. I'll just go through some of the basic elements to get an overview. So we have players. This is anyone with skin in the game, like a team member in a football game, a CEO in corporate politics, or even countries dealing with global diplomacy. In game theory, players are expected to act rationally, strictly within the parameters of the game. Now, when we say rationally, this actually means selfishly, so it's not always ideal, and this framework can lead to behaviors that don't reflect social norms. Now, what's a game? Well, a game in game theory is any situation, usually involving multiple players, drawn from a real-life situation. All the game dynamics are meant to be defined mathematically in terms of the exchange of costs and payoffs. So a payoff is what you get out of something, from winning a bet to securing a long-term business contract. To define this, in game theory, we use a payoff matrix. A payoff matrix is a table that shows the payoffs for each player for each possible combination of strategies. Now, payoff matrices are going to be a bit tricky in an audio format, as they're used frequently in game theory, and they are useful to provide a clear representation of the payoffs for different game dynamics. I'll be providing links to visuals for these. Payoff matrices are important for assessing the best strategy. So a strategy is your plan of action, whether you're lining up behind a spawn point in a video game or planning a long-term business model. An agent can be used interchangeably with player, but often refers to a non-human player in a multi-agent simulation. So agents are an opportunity to trial a given behavior, and so they're not necessarily rational, rather they're used to find the most effective response to a complex situation. Then we've got different types of games. So as we've covered, there are non-zero sum games. These are usually used to describe win-win situations like mutually beneficial trade agreements or collaborative research projects, but it can also be used to refer to lose-lose situations. And then we have zero-sum games, where one's loss is another's gain. From tug of war to legal battles. Zero-sum is also often used to refer to constant sum situations, where if I say winner gets $5, the sum is technically $5, so it's not zero sum, but there is no outcome where completing the game leads to the share of winnings being lesser or greater than $5. Then we have simultaneous games. Players act at the same time, like rock, paper, scissors or blind auctions. We have sequential games, where players take turns, like chess, and combinatorial games, where there are no chance moves and perfect information. This is like Connect 4 or again chess. As you can see, some of these games fall under many different categories. So chess is a zero-sum, sequential, combinatorial game. Game theory also has its classics, so a series of games that sort of illustrate different aspects of game theory. And we'll be looking at all of these throughout the series at different times. First, we have The Prisoner's Dilemma, a classic example of a non-zero-sum game where the best outcome for both players is to cooperate, but the rational choice is to defect. The Stag Hunt is a game where you choose a risky option that benefits everyone or a safe option that benefits only you. The Ultimatum game is a game where one player can offer a split of a reward and the other player decides whether to accept or reject the offer. If the offer is rejected, neither player gets anything. Battle of the Sexes is where players have different preferences, like deciding between a romantic comedy and an action film, but they would prefer to do something together. There's the classic game of chicken, where the first to swerve loses, but if neither swerves, both lose big time. Then we have Hawk and Dove, where players choose between aggressive and passive strategies. We have public goods games, where you can choose to contribute to a public good or keep resources for yourself. There is, of course, a lot more to it, and we'll be picking up bits and pieces as we go forward. But to begin with, we're going to start with a couple of episodes about two important elements that require a bit more detail. Nash equilibrium, where no one can benefit from changing their strategy if others don't, like stopping at a traffic light or driving on the correct side of the road. And Pareto efficiency, where it's not possible to make one player better off without making another player worse off. So why game theory? Well, game theory is a tool for understanding. It helps us to break down complex problems. It's not a panacea, and it has its own issues, which we'll be exploring too. But it's part of an approach that embraces the view that we can solve difficult problems.